Why do you think happiness and well-being are so much in the zeitgeist at the moment?
I think that people are thinking more about their experience of life, and in some ways, right through the 20th century, we've got more and more things, but people become shorter of time, they become more interested in what they do with their time, and so people's experience becomes more and more important. And happiness and well-being are really talking about the quality of people's experience of life. And that's been my interest for about the last 20 years, and I think it's resonating with a lot of people. So Connect is about relationships at work, and that's both your team relationships and your relationships generally in an organisation. So if someone wants to do something about that, it's a lot about how do you get people to interconnect much more beyond the tight business needs. So do you have spaces where people can collide into each other? You know, it can be kitchens, it can be atriums, it can be whatever, but do you get people to mix both in work and out of work, and you should encourage that. If you haven't got fairness in an organisation, then you know you've got a problem. And fairness, you know, is yes about fair pay, yes about respect, diversity, but also about work-life balance. Do you respect people's private lives? Respect that people have lives outside of work. You know, some people have kids they need to look after, or parents they need to look after, or a partner that's sick. You know, how do we manage those sort of things? And you know, also fairness in terms of, you know, if you want to think about in terms of space, you know, that actually buildings that work, materials that you can use, you know, because it's sort of unfair if you don't get a chance to actually do the work you can do. The next one is empower, which is about delegating, about having people use their strengths, giving them a sense of influence and control over their work. And it's actually a critical way. I mean, you know, if you're micromanaged or you're in a bureaucratic system, it's damn annoying. So, you know, how can you create systems that actually really empower people to do the work they want to do?
Do you think there's a design application for that one? That sounds a bit more systems and conceptual than something that might apply to furniture or interior design.
Well, you know, I think you want self-organising teams, so things that help eye contact, that help people to be able to work closely together, that there are all sorts of tech solutions to that when people are remote. If they're close together, if they're in the same space, then some people say there's this 1/r² relationship, which is that however far you are away from someone. Well, if you're 2 meters away, you have a quarter of the contact than if you're 1 meter away.
That's interesting.
So, you know, there are some design elements in that actually probably you should put people a bit closer together than they feel comfortable with, but then create breakout and social spaces for them as well. So you probably have the same amount of office space, but you're putting people a bit closer together, and then have other types of space, chill spaces, meeting spaces, collision spaces. From a design perspective, I think communicating achievements around the organisation. I'm quite interested in how you feed back things to the whole organisation, and I think that you could be quite clever with designing, you know, responsive infographics that start to communicate to everyone what's going on, and they should be in the atrium or whatever. From a design perspective, Inspire is a lot about beautiful spaces. I mean, the aesthetics of our workplaces, you know, undeniably important. It's obviously an expensive solution for lots of people, and in some ways it's difficult sometimes to prove the value of that.
So what advice would you give to a product designer, a furniture designer, an interior designer, you know, sort of trying to create spaces or products that feed into happier workplaces?
Think about people. You know, I think a lot of designers think about the aesthetic of the specific object that they're creating, which of course is lovely and beautiful, looks fantastic on their CAD systems and whatever like that, you know, but actually how are people going to use it? So in a tech world, there's all this stuff about user experience, and I think it is about making spaces and furniture that works for people. Walking meetings, you know, rather than sat down meetings are better. You get about 40% more creative ideas if you're moving your body while you're thinking of creative ideas. I mean, I know I will pace around a room quite a lot when we're brainstorming. And so allowing spaces that allow people to move their bodies in, I think is really, really critical for both happiness and sort of success and productivity.